Welcome. If you're learning English, you've probably hit that wall where you know the words, but putting them together in real time feels like solving a giant, complicated puzzle. Today, we're looking at the ultimate cheat code for spoken English. We're going to break down the exact patterns that can absolutely skyrocket your speaking ability. Seriously, are you just tired of overthinking English grammar? We all know that incredibly frustrating feeling. You know, translating a thought in your head from your native language, pausing awkwardly right in the middle of a conversation, and frantically searching your brain for the right tense. It's exhausting, right? But what if I told you that native speakers aren't constantly thinking about complex grammar rules either? They rely on something else entirely, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack today in this explainer. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the fluency shortcut, move on to actions that continue, and then compare past to present. After that, we'll fix some common English mistakes, and finally, wrap things up with native idioms for daily use and power vocabulary words. Let's kick things right off with section 1, the fluency shortcut. Okay, let's dive into this. The secret weapon here is something called a structure. In spoken English, a structure is simply a fixed sentence pattern or arrangement of words used to express ideas clearly and naturally without overthinking. Think of it like a ready-made template. Instead of building every single sentence from scratch and stressing about all the individual grammar rules before you even open your mouth, you just plug your vocabulary right into these fixed, reliable arrangements. So why does this matter so much? Well, because structures instantly improve your overall fluency. They make your speaking sound completely natural and help you form sentences incredibly quickly. You basically bypass all those mental gymnastics, which vastly improves your confidence during a conversation. And honestly, the best part to remember is that native speakers use these exact patterns every single day. Now, let's look at a real-world example of one of these patterns in action. Welcome to Section 2, Actions that Continue. We're going to look at the keep on structure. This is the precise pattern you use when an activity continues for some time. You know, when you just don't stop an action, or when someone repeats an activity continuously. Look at the formula here. It's the subject, plus keep or keeps on, plus a verb ending in ing. For example, you might say, I keep on practicing English, or she keeps on talking during class. The absolute golden rule here, and you seriously cannot forget this, is that your action verb must always, always end in ing. You don't just keep on talk, you keep on talking. So how do you actually choose between keep and keeps? It's all about the subject. If your subject is I, you, we, or they, you use keep on. But if you're talking about a third-person singular subject like he, she, or it, you have to add that S and use keeps on. So it's they keep on playing, but he keeps on playing. Nail this, and you'll instantly sound way more natural. Let's move to section 3 and see how this builds. We're looking at comparing past to present. Think about who you were 5 years ago versus who you are right now. Often in English, we want to talk about exactly that, who we were versus who we are today. We do this beautifully with the used to structure. This is a pattern that describes past habits, actions done regularly before, or situations that were true in the past but are not true now. What's fascinating is that even though it technically describes the past, it's incredibly common in present-day conversations to contrast your old routines with your current life. Here is the formula, and it is brilliantly simple. It's the subject plus used to plus the verb in its first form, meaning its base form. For example, I used to play cricket, or they used to study together. Notice that, unlike the keep-on structure where we had to add ing, here we do absolutely nothing to the action verb. Play stays play, study stays study. Now, pay close attention to this next rule, because it trips up almost every language learner. So the crucial point is, when you want to make a negative sentence or ask a question about the past, you're going to need to use did or did not. The ironclad rule of English is that after did or did not, the verb always stays in the first form. We're going to see exactly how to apply this so you can avoid a very, very common trap. Let's put these rules directly into practice. Welcome to Section 4, Avoiding Common English Mistakes. Let's test this out. If someone says, he keep on talking, we automatically know that's wrong. Why? Because of our he, she, it rule we looked at just a minute ago. The correct structure is he keeps on talking. Remembering that tiny little s makes a world of difference in sounding fluent and precise. All right, here's another really common mistake that totally disrupts fluency. Listen to this one. I used to play cricket. Remember our formula? The verb following used to must remain in its base first form. So the correct sentence is simply, I used to play cricket. You always want to drop the past tense marker on the action verb when using this specific structure. And here is the big one we just warned you about. She did not used to sing. Because we have the phrase did not right there in the sentence, the following verb must revert to its very first form. That means we have to drop the D from used. So the totally correct way to say this is, she did not use to sing. If you can master this specific rule, you will completely eliminate a massive percentage of grammar errors in your daily speech. Literally a game changer. Now that your structural foundation is rock solid, it's time to add some real color to your conversations. Section 5. Native idioms for daily use. Structures give you the skeleton of a sentence, but idioms, they give your English real personality. Idioms are just phrases that mean something completely different from the literal translation of the words. For example, if you want to say, it's your decision now, you can just say, the ball is in your court. Or, got a difficult person or problem you're dealing with? Call it a tough nut to crack. Want to say you agree with someone? Tell them you see eye to eye. And sticking by someone in good and bad times means you are with them through thick and thin. Dropping these seamlessly into your everyday sentences instantly signals a much higher level of fluency. And this brilliantly illustrates the power of a great idiom in action. Stop beating around the bush and answer directly. Beating around the bush just means avoiding the main point. Notice how much more vivid, dynamic, and native the sentence feels when you use the idiom, instead of just saying stop avoiding the topic. It's so much better, right? Let's move on to our final level up for today's explainer. Section 6. Power vocabulary words. We've pulled some fantastic power words that can immediately upgrade a basic sentence into a really sophisticated one. Instead of saying an explanation was just clear, say it was lucid, meaning very clear and easy to understand. Instead of calling a village old and small, call it quaint, which means attractively old-fashioned. Don't just look at a report, scrutinize it, examine it very carefully. And if results are real and touchable, they are tangible. Simply substituting basic everyday adjectives with these powerful vocabulary words makes your speech sound highly educated and super precise. I absolutely love this combination right here. Our final power word is zealous, which means very enthusiastic and energetic. So the challenge to you is this. Be zealous about making your English lucid. Bring that enthusiastic energy to practicing these fixed structures, and the result will be perfectly clear, highly understandable communication for sure. We have covered a lot today. We went through the fluency shortcut, mastered the formulas for keep on and used to, fixed some of the most common grammatical mistakes, and armed you with idioms and power words. So my final question for you is this. Which new structure or idiom will you use in your very next conversation? Don't just practice these in your head. Get out there and speak. The ball is in your court now. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep on practicing.